With a national championship on the line, we got a special crossover. It's Locked On Sunbelt
and Locked On LSU.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt with Matt Moscona, Locked On LSU. We got the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers versus the dynasty that is the LSU Tigers. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
Schultz, what's going on, man? Cheers. Yeah. Can we raise a glass first as we get started? It's great to see you. Yes. Dave and I go way back, and it's great to connect here before LSU beats the ever-living mess out of a team that he covers for the Sun Belt or whatever the thing is that he does.
I'm not a flat brim guy, but it's a cool hat.
That's for those who are listening and not watching. Right. Dave is wearing a white hat with teal letters that just say Omaha. Is that a Coastal Carolina hat?
Yes, I bought. Yes.
Is there any Coastal Carolina marking on that whatsoever?
Is there? Yes.
Oh, there is on the side. Okay. Respect for that. By the way, I happen to be an LSU alum, and I'm not wearing a lick of LSU gear, trying to maintain some level of impartiality. You, however, have gone full-on Sunbelt nerd here.
Yes, absolutely. 100% unbiased, completely biased.
Yes.
Homer. Absolutely.
You can be a homer. I'm just realistic. LSU's way better, and they're going to win this in 2 games. Did I skip to the end with the predictions? My bad.
You did. First of all, I said it was a wild turkey glass. I am drinking. I got a little Knob 12, which is right now my favorite product that we have at, another homer thing, Jim Beam.
There you go. Hey, nothing wrong with Beam, man. Jim Beam Black is one of the most awarded bourbons when it comes to blind taste tests. Don't. I tell people all the time. By the way, I've got Elijah Craig 18 in my glass, but I tell people all the time, Schultz, just because something's expensive doesn't mean it's good, and just because something's good doesn't mean it's expensive. So find what you like.
So that's the second pour on our tour, and when you come down and visit, you'll know that.
I love it. When I come up and visit.
I'll come up and visit. I know I said that.
Yeah.
Yes. So it is. Yes, it is outstanding. So yes, that's a good one to have. All right. So let's talk about this. LSU expectations coming into the season. Oddly enough, both teams preseason picked 4th in the conference. What were the expectations? I mean, I know the expectations really around LSU are, Omaha.
It's always the same.
Usually,
it's always the same.
I don't know about winning a championship every year, but it tend to be Omaha or bust.
This program is defined by, for better or worse, Dave, what you do in the College World Series. Sure. There have been, I'll give you an example. The 2013 and 2015 LSU Tigers, I would argue, are the 2 greatest regular season teams in the history of this program. But both of them went to Omaha and had early exits. And so no one will remember those teams. People will remember 91, 93, 96, 97, 2000, 2009, 2023, and now maybe 2025. People will remember here the national champions because that is the standard by which they're judged. So coming into this season, because of the maniacal recruiter that Jay Johnson is and the resources LSU has, you'll always have a roster capable of getting to Omaha. So that's always the expectation. But, it's a 56-game marathon and an evolution to find what you think game 1 to what you do know by game 56 to set yourself up for a run to and ultimately through Omaha. And now LSU's on the doorstep of doing what everyone expects, realistic or not, what everyone expects when every season starts.
Now, I don't know if people expected a couple of years ago Paul Skeens to be Paul Skeens. I think people knew he was good. I'm not sure we expected him to be that good. Did people expect Cade Anderson to be this good?
Great question. And I love that you brought up Skeens because I remember interviewing Skeens whenever he committed from Air Force, and I had to ask him how to pronounce his name. Because he wasn't Paul Skeens.
Right.
He came to LSU and transformed. He was a very good pitcher. But
and hitter.
Not having a not having the military obligations, being able to focus completely on his body, having the pitching lab at LSU, the great coaching, all of that allowed him to develop into what he became. Cade Anderson's interesting because Cade is from Louisiana, and he was the number one pitching prospect in the state 2 years ago. But when he pitched as a freshman at LSU, Dave, he was great in the non-conference and the midweek. Cade Anderson's ERA in SEC play as a freshman was 27. 27. Again, he couldn't get SEC hitters out. The stuff was fantastic. There was never a question about velocity or spin rate or any of that. I mean, he came to campus with all that stuff. What he learned was pitchability. He learned how to pitch. He got mound time, and the development year 1 to year 2 to go from a guy who had an ERA of 27 in conference play to a guy who's probably going to be the number one pick in a few weeks is amazing. I don't think anybody saw that. They'd be lying if they said they saw that transformation year to year.
Yeah, and then the other transformation that's happened over the last couple of weeks, and really the one, I'm sure, Matt, I think there's other advantages, but the one huge advantage that LSU has over Coastal does not have a Bear Jones. They don't. They have a couple of guys that can hit home runs, but they don't have the big bopper. And I love the idea. From what I read, I presume it's right, everybody was on the team bus. Bear Jones was taking extra BP. They were waiting on him taking extra BP because the kid was mired in a massive slump, and all he does, he's just hit home runs since.
You know, the thing about Jones, it's interesting, Dave, because this park does, in a way, neutralize Bear's ability. Now, I say that he's hit 2 home runs already. One of them was with the wind blowing in. He hit it 387 to the power alley and right, got it out by a couple of feet on a day when nobody else would have.
Right.
I mean, he's an incredibly strong young guy with tremendous power. And it's why he's in the lineup, despite some of the offensive struggles he's had at times this year, is because he's always capable. He's got that club in his bag where he's always capable of hitting the ball. I don't know if you or anyone listening or watching, if you love Major League Baseball, but I say this all the time about MLB, and I love MLB, but MLB has become a game where you can go 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts if the one's a 3-run homer. And that's Bear Jones. It's why he projects to the next level, because there is a lot of swing and miss at times. He can get impatient, but man, if you make a mistake and he hits it, he ain't going to miss it, and it's going to go a long way. And it can change the game, like it did against Arkansas when he tied it with the homer. But the more impressive at bat was the one in the 9th that won it, because that was a breaking ball low and away, and he didn't try to swing to hit the ball to Iowa. He was like, let me poke my bat and get it over the second baseman's head and win this ball game, which is a really patient approach from a good hitter. And I think that's the difference between Bear Jones a year ago and now. He's gone from a guy that had a tremendous amount of swing and miss, but was a 28 homer guy, to a guy who will take his walks, who will take his backside singles if they're there. And when he can, he'll hit the homer. So he's a really complete hitter, man. It's been fun to watch him too.
All right, so outside of a dramatic win the other night for LSU, both the Tigers and Coastal have gotten here, both winning 3 ball games. All right, no extra. LSU had a rain issue, but that was about it. However, though, there was a little bump in the road with Little Rock, and Little Rock got out to a lead that night. I have spent many a night, and it does not matter if it's 4-1 and LSU has hit 1 home run and didn't do anything, and they go to the 9th inning, or it's 11-8 and the team just scored 3 runs in the 8th. I've seen plenty of comebacks in the box. So I'm sure there wasn't a total nervousness, but there had to be slight concern what was going on. As I mean, I saw you, I watch a show. I can admit I watch a show. We're either going to see a great comeback or the biggest upset in LSU history. I think I'm basically either paraphrasing or quoting what you said. So what do you think happened? I mean, obviously, baseball is baseball, and, you know, everybody has one of those games, and LSU had one of those games. They bounced back. They did not. Little Rock probably ran out of pitching as well, and LSU came through. But what was going through your mind in those days, those 24 hours, basically, when LSU lost to Little Rock and was able to come from behind when they fell behind to Little Rock?
Well, the Sunday when they lost is easy. They went Zach Cowan, Jaden Newt, and neither could throw strikes. And that's a problem, and that could be a problem against Coastal if it gets to that. But that's also an outlier for those two guys. It was just a weird day where they weren't able to throw strikes when we were expecting them to. And so they lost. They lost to a good team. And I know Little Rock, the RPI and the record and everybody, but when you look into that team, they finished second in their league a year before. They're a good team that got beset by injuries. Nobody needs to hear excuses, but that was a better team than I think what their record showed. And we all saw that. But they came back on that Monday, got down 5-1, and that was a real concern to get down 5-1 the way that they did, because Cowan, as I mentioned, had just had an inability to throw strikes early. But then you end up getting this epic performance from Kason Evans, who's an elite talent, might be LSU's Friday night guy next year. And that's the benefit that LSU has, is they've got a very deep bullpen and staff and guys that can throw 95 with great movement and 22-inch horizontal break. It's just they're and when you recruit at this level, it's what you have. You have the seemingly never-ending pool of resources of elite talent. It's just getting them to perform their best on the day they're called upon. And that's the challenge of baseball, Dave. I mean, we see the best players in the world. We see Major League Baseball teams get no hit. I mean, it happens. It's baseball. It's why I know LSU doesn't want this to go to a game 3, because if it becomes a 1-game season and you have a bad day, then your season ends and you don't win the last game. It's why LSU needs to win this thing in 2.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll look at it from the Coastal Carolina point of view.
There's nothing like the NBA playoffs except the College World Series. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. Y'all, we're staring at a Game 7. And if you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. As a matter of fact, just last Friday, I was at Fenway for Yankees Red Sox, bought our tickets about an hour before first pitch while sitting in a bar across the street from Fenway on the Game Time app, because I was watching them and the prices do, in fact, decrease. So if you're heading to Omaha for the College World Series, get your tickets on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem with the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's look at Coastal. Here's my biggest question. They got 2 dudes. Jacob Morrison's a dude, and Fluky's a dude. They're not going to throw Morrison, their number 1, in Game 1. They're going to go with Cameron Fluky instead. 6'6", 220, sits mid-90s, runs it up 98, 99. Had a scout was at the Sun Belt tournament, told me he touched 99. Okay, why does Coastal not throw their ace Morrison in Game 1?
Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've watched Coastal all year long. I have watched them for the last month. I will tell you Morrison has just not pitched on short rest for the last month. So just like the SEC does, the Sun Belt moves up the regular season final weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Morrison did not move up. Morrison just pitched on Friday. For the conference tournament, it starts early. He didn't pitch Wednesday or Thursday. He pitched on Friday. For the regional, he pitched on Saturday. For the super regional, he pitched on Saturday. And in the World Series, he pitched on Sunday. So he has not pitched on short rest. He did pitch 100 pitches or just over 100 pitches in his one outing in the World Series. So I heard you again watching. It wouldn't be the worst thing if he pitched on short rest, because there is no regional or super regional to get ready for next week. But he just has not done it. Now, so Kevin Schnall has been really consistent with that. Now, I do happen to think that Kevin Schnall pulled a Sean Payton and tried to be the smartest man in the room when he pitched both Riley Eichhoff and Cam Fluky against Arizona in Game 1. And apparently,
it worked.
Well, it did. And so it wasn't because it was basically to show them 2 different looks. So Eichhoff is a little short. They're both righties, but Eichhoff is a little shorter, Fluky a lot taller. And so they got 2. They went around the lineup twice. They both gave up a couple runs, both pitched pretty well. but they got 4 innings out of each, and then they went to the bullpen. It worked because they faced the 4th pitcher of Louisville, and the bats came around. The poor kid from Louisville hadn't pitched for a month, didn't get anybody out, blew him open, and Eichhoff didn't give up a run until the 6th inning, so that worked out. Fluky is really good. The big difference between the LSU pitchers and the Coastal pitchers, LSU's got more strikeouts. Other than that, the numbers are really similar. Innings pitched, hits, walks, average against, and for that fact of the matter, ERA are all really similar. The one difference is that Cade Anderson's got a bunch more strikeouts, and Anthony Einstein has more strikeouts compared to Morrison and Fluky and Eichhoff. But all those 3 guys are really good. On the back end of the bullpen, there is a double closer in Carbone and Ryan Lynch. But that's the reason that they're going with Fluky is because Morrison has not pitched on short rest in a month.
I'm not sure I buy the short rest thing, Dave. I don't think you're wrong in saying that. I just don't buy it. At this level, if they felt they had to win game 1, they'd throw their best guy. I think they're pitching off, realizing Fluky's a really good arm talent. And if he wins, great. If they lose, then they've got Morrison queued up to save their season and force a game 3. I think Coastal's best chance is to force this to a game 3 where they can bring back Eichhoff. But it is interesting. The big difference, though, the other difference that I think is all those stats that you said are what and what. Coastal's pitchers did it against the Sun Belt schedule. Sure, LSU's did it against the SEC.
No, you're right.
And that's a differentiator. So I am curious because Coastal did have a very impressive non-conference strength of schedule. And you look at it, I mean, they played Big Ten teams and they played Clemson, and they really challenged themselves in the non-conference. And I understand why they had to make sure they had a strong enough resume to make sure if it came down to a situation where they stumbled in the conference tournament, they'd still get an at-large. How did they fare in those non-conference games?
Well, they swept Clemson. They had a home and home with Clemson, and they beat Clemson twice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched a lot of SEC this year, right? I used to watch it when I was in Louisiana and in Mobile. So the first time I really saw Cade Anderson pitch was against Arkansas. Didn't know a whole lot about Arkansas and saw their big boppers. Their whole lineup has double-digit home runs and saw what Cade Anderson did and was really impressed with that. And then watch what Morrison did. Like you said, it's mostly against the Sun Belt. He gives up 1 home run to Oregon State and then basically retires the next, 16, 17 batters in a row.
Yeah, he was great.
So really, I mean, I don't know if he one-upped Cade Anderson, but it was really impressive, right? Gage one-upped everybody. So really impressive. So they're really good. Their last loss is to College of Charleston. And I guess the coach came over and said, keep your heads up, guys. Apparently they ran themselves out of that ball game with a couple of bad running mistakes and said, you guys are going to end up hosting a regional and go on a run. And so, like you said, and probably I'm a little bit more mature than you. And by that, I mean only older. So I don't know if you remember when Sean McDonough would come on ESPN and say, oh, by the way, if so-and-so wins tonight, we're going to play again. All right. You might only remember, when CBS screwed it up and held it to 1 ball game, and Warren Morris is hitting a home run because CBS screwed it up. And that's why we have 2 out of 3. That's the way baseball should be. It is a series, so it doesn't come down to 1 ball game. That's the way baseball is. So they're very good. They just haven't lost. It's a ridiculous thing. Baseball is not meant to be that way. That means a call didn't go against them. A bad hop didn't go against them. A flare didn't fall in. I mean, the way they beat Arizona, this guy was rolling and he got 2 outs in the 8th, and the kid hit an 0-2 pitch off the end of the bat, and it fell in by a foot. And then another flare fell in, and all of a sudden they're ahead. And then same thing happened against Louisville. 2 flares fall in against Terry Pluta or Tony Pluta, the closer of the year, and they're out. So, baseball is no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, is much more fluky than the other sports, where you can do something absolutely right and something wrong can happen, or you can be like Auburn and hit 2 on the nose, 2 on the screws, and line into 2 inning-ending, and 1 was a game-ending double play. So it's
the great Roger Cador, former legendary Southern University coach, would say, you could hit a ball 400 feet, it's an out. You could hit a ball 4 feet, then it's a base hit, but that's baseball. Right. If you'll forgive the horrible Roger Cador impression, but it's true. I mean, that's why I love the game. You're either maddened by the game and you hate it, or you love it. And I just am enamored, and I'm one of those nerds that loves baseball.
Well, I heard you talking about all the things that LSU had to do, right? We only remembered Tommy Tanks and Skeens and Cruz, but, so Arkansas's left fielder doesn't make the catch. Remind me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Josh Pearson make a spectacular catch with the sun in his eyes? Like, if he doesn't make the catch in left field, they lose. The game's over, right? Yeah. So
there's that whole game, that whole Wake Forest thing 2 years ago. There was Pearson's play. There was Trey Morgan's flip at home in the 1-0 game in extra innings, where they got the runner at the plate, and everything had to work. I mean, Morgan had to field, flip, Milazzo had to catch, swipe, tag. I mean, everything had to work. It's baseball, man. And if those things don't go your way, then everything's forgotten at a place like LSU, where the standard is, like we talked about earlier, championships. But I do want to talk about Coastal's offense for a second before we go, Dave. And this is a team that only has hit 66 homers on the year, and this is a ballpark that's not very conducive to power anyway. So what are the things that, or even the names that we should know for Coastal offensively, and how they're going to try to attack Cade Anderson on Saturday?
Well, they're going to do your favorite thing. They love to bunt.
Well, they're going to lose because baseball guys hate bunting, because bunting should be illegal.
They will bunt. Everybody in the lineup can sacrifice. They will move the runners over. They're not going to sit there and wait for the 3-run home run. So on paper, LSU has 37 more home runs than LSU. And yet, they have 37 more home runs than Coastal. And yet they've only scored 24 more runs than Coastal, although Coastal has 1 more game. So go figure. They get on base. They lead the nation in getting hit by pitch. They don't move out. They tend to do it on purpose. You can see that a couple of times that's happened in this World Series. They almost, they didn't get a run home because they got hit by a pitch on purpose. It was ball 4, so they almost messed that up. But Colby Thorndike has been hot. I'm off the top of my head. He's got 12 runs batted in the tournament. He's hit a grand slam. He's got 2 bases loaded doubles in the World Series. He had 5 runs batted in the other day against Louisville. Caden Bodine is the switch hitting catcher. He leads off. You got Will Sykes at the bottom of the lineup. Sebastian Alexander and Blake Barthol, the left fielder and second baseman. They're the only ones that have double-digit home runs. It is a well-balanced lineup. I know you're in Baton Rouge, but it's a lot like the 2014 Cajuns that didn't have the big bopper, but just could run and could, hit the gaps and had some speed. That they do have that. They have a lot of speed. They have over 100 stolen bases. That is the advantage that they have. And LSU doesn't throw a lot of guys out. Again, a lot of guys don't get on base, but they don't throw a lot of guys out. But everybody on Coastal Carolina can contribute. And whether it is Blake Barthol, who seems to have been at Coastal Carolina, I mean, it feels like he's been there forever. And whether it's, him or, Sebastian or Caden Bodine or Colby Thorndike, all these guys, they're solid. They're really good. They're tough to get out. They don't get themselves out. They walk. And all of a sudden, you think you got them out, and they were trailing ECU 5-4 in like the 6th in the second game of their regional, and they blinked, and it was 18-7.
Hey, I got one more, we'll grab our final break, but if hypothetically LSU jumps on Cam Flukie early on Saturday, what do you think? And again, this may not happen. You play through hypotheticals because I think coaches have to do this to know what their plan is going to be for any scenario.
Yeah.
So if LSU does jump on Cam Flukie early,
that's a good question.
Who do you think Coastal would go to? Meaning, like, would they go to a key arm to keep it close, or do they punt game one, recognizing we're set up with Morrison in game two?
Who did you suggest? A key player?
I'm saying, yeah. Would they go to a key bullpen arm?
Oh,
or would they
I guess
just
it depends.
punt?
Yeah.
Would
Well,
they
it depends
punt?
what the jumping is. So the higher the scoring the game, the more it is LSU's favor. If this stays low, Coastal, certainly has a shot. But yes, if this spins out of control, they won't. But they have plenty of arms in the bullpen. Hayden Johnson is a guy. He threw, I think he had 3 shutout innings. He came in behind Morrison against Auburn and threw 3 shutout innings in the blazing heat in Plainsman Park on Saturday afternoon. So Hayden Johnson is the lefty. He's really good. And you have 2 closers. I presume they can do 2 innings apiece. So, those guys go long. So the starters go long. So you don't have to worry about that. But they have plenty of guys in the bullpen. Potok came in the other day, didn't pitch all that well. He hasn't pitched a lot as of recently. And you have the kid, Luke Jones. He has not pitched since he started the Sun Belt Championship game. So who knows? I mean, he's obviously available. He's rested, but he literally has not pitched in a month. So I'm not sure if you want to put a freshman who's got good stuff. He's pitched plenty this year, but he just has not pitched in a long time. That puts a young kid in a tough spot.
It's just so interesting how you have to reframe when you get to the postseason. I tell our audience this all the time, but when you get to the postseason, you have to reframe what you think strategically during the regular season, because you're no longer playing a 3-game series where you're going to get 3 games no matter what. And you're trying to win 2 out of 3. I know this is different in the championship series, but it's all about like advancing through this tournament, and you have to win the tournament, not win 2 out of 3 over 10 weekends in your league to get a national seed. That you have to win this tournament. So it is interesting that a decision coaches sometimes are faced with, like, for example, the LSU Arkansas game. Dave Van Horn had to make a decision about Gabe Gackle. So Gabe Gackle, who's their outstanding, was the reliever who struck out 10 LSU hitters on Saturday. They would have loved to have saved Gabe Gackle to start against LSU in the if necessary game on Thursday, but they found themselves they had a 1-0 lead in the 6th. LSU got a couple of guys on, and they went to Gackle, and they had to burn their best remaining bullet to make sure their season stayed alive. So it'll be interesting to see with Jay Johnson and with Kevin Schnall how they manage their pitching staffs. Look, when you get to game 2, it becomes more obvious because someone is either going to win the national championship or force a game 3 on Sunday.
Right.
So like the decisions become much more binary. It's easier to know what someone's going to do because there's so much on the line. The game 1 is really the interesting thing, because are you all in to win game 1, or are you doing what you have to do to give yourself the best chance to win 2 of the 3, even if it means losing game 1? And that's what's going to be interesting to see.
Well, I think that can change depending on the time of the game, right? If it gets to be 5-0 after 2, then you can change it. If it's 3-2 bases loaded in the bottom half of the 8th inning, I can go all in at that moment in time.
See, if I'm down 3-2 in the 8th, I'm not sure I'm throwing my best bullpen arm at that point.
Oh.
If you're losing, if you're up 3-2, like I'll give you this scenario, Dave.
No.
If LSU's winning 3-2 and Cade Anderson gives them 7 1/3, you got 5 outs to go.
Sure.
You're winning by a run, you got 5 outs to go. I would bet my life, everything I own, my house, all of it, that Kason Evans is coming in to finish the game. He's coming in to get you 5 outs. Like he's been your best reliever all year. He's been amazing. He's coming, regardless of what you might think you need him for in games 2 and 3. And ideally, if it went to a game 3, Evans would be there to start game 3. But if you have a chance to win game 1, you were winning game 1. So that's the scenario. If you're down 3-2, that changes. All right, let's do picks.
Yeah. Okay.
Hit it. Let's do
right
picks.
Back. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, along with Matt Moscona, Locked On LSU. We are making our predictions. I don't think either one of us is going to go way off the reservation. Mr. Moscona, you first.
LSU's a giant favorite. They should be a giant favorite, and they're going to win.
They're not a giant favorite. Where are you seeing giant favorite? They're not even a 2-1 favorite.
They're minus 190.
Is that a giant favorite?
Yes.
It's
That's
like
a
plus
giant
140.
favorite. They're minus 190, Dave. Like, this isn't even close to even money. LSU's a giant favorite to win the series. They're going to win the series.
I don't think that's giant.
You can be rah-rah Sunbelt guy and you can love Coastal. The bottom line is this. LSU has played a more challenging schedule. They've gone through the meat grinder of the SEC. With respect to Fluky and with respect to Jacob Morrison, who are outstanding pitchers, and Fluky, I've been told by scouts, is going to be a first-round pick next year. Every week in the SEC, you see that. You see a guy throwing mid-upper 90s every single week. And LSU's beaten Kyson Witherspoon in Oklahoma, and they've beaten Jacob Doyle, a lefty who throws 100 from Tennessee, and they've beaten Zach Root twice. Like, there's nothing they're going to see from any of the Coastal pitchers that they haven't already seen. That's the big difference. And LSU on Saturday is going to throw Cade Anderson, who's the best pitcher in college baseball, who's going to win game 1. And then LSU is going to be all in to win game 2. And they're going to win it. So I hate giving this example because, like, I hate giving Ole Miss any credit at all. But they are an example of a team that was not a great team. Ole Miss in 22 was not a great baseball team. They were the last at-large team to make the field.
Right.
And they rode 2 guys, Dylan DeLucia and Hunter Elliott, all the way to the national title. They had 2 awesome pitchers that carried them, kept them in the winner's bracket, and they rode all the way through. And that's what LSU is going to do. They have the best 1-2 punch in the country. Cade Anderson's the best pitcher in the country. They're going to win game 1 on Saturday. They're going to come back with Anthony Ianson and everybody else in their bullpen on the mound to make sure that they throttle Coastal and win game 2 and end this thing on Sunday. And I think that's what will happen.
All right, I will give you game 1 because I was impressed with Cade Anderson. Jacob Morrison will lead them in game 2, and Riley Eichhoff and Coastal Carolina has more pitching in game 3, and Coastal Carolina will win this in 3 ball games.
To say that Coastal has more pitching in game 3 is a total fallacy, because if it gets to game 3, I could even give you that if you have a guy like Eichhoff that you feel good about being your starter, fine. What happens if Eichhoff gets down 2-0 in the first? Here's the problem. In a regular season series, you're sticking with that guy. You're going to let him play it out. In the game to win the national championship, if he gets in trouble early, he is out of the game. And Coastal has nothing resembling the bullpen that LSU can roll to with Chase Shores, who's 6'8" and throws 101. Jacob Myers, who's 6'5" and throws 100. Maverick Rizzi, who's 6'9" and throws 100. And Cooper Williams, who's 6'9" and throws 98 from the left side. Like, to say that Coastal has a deeper bullpen or staff is just a fallacy. It's factually inaccurate. You might be okay thinking you're better off. Not you, because not you, Dave, in general. With Eichhoff as a number 3. But if we get to a scenario in this series where LSU has Case and Evans ready in game 3 and Zach Cowan and Jaden Newt, who, by the way, throws 97, like, Coastal doesn't have the depth of arms that LSU does. It's why they're LSU. They have a roster full of dudes that all expect to be drafted and go play Major League Baseball. There is a differentiator. I have tremendous respect for this Coastal team. I don't want it to come across like I don't. I picked them to make the championship series, by the way, Dave. I picked them out of bracket number 1 to advance to this point. I have a lot of respect for Kevin Schnall, that program, and what they've done. But there is a fundamental difference with your ability to score runs, your ability to throw strikes, your ability to bring out guys that throw 95 to 100 miles an hour. LSU's a deeper, more talented team, and they're going to win it in 2 games.
Hasn't Chase Shores pitched in the first 2 games?
He's pitched in the first 3 games.
That's what I mean. So he's going to pitch in the 3rd game?
Hell yeah.
In the first 2 games?
His pitch count hasn't gone high.
Okay.
Chase Shores will be available on Saturday. He threw on Wednesday. So he gets 2 full days rest to come get you 2 innings. If you need him on Saturday, he'll do it. I mean, yes, they have.
That's fine. He's going to pitch on Saturday, but I'm saying he's pitching on Monday as well. That's what you're saying. If he pitches
Saturday, ideally, best case scenario for LSU is Cade Anderson gives you, best case, Cade Anderson throws a complete game. But if Cade Anderson realistically gives you, let's say he does what he did against Arkansas, who, by the way, Arkansas is a better offense than Coastal. Cade Anderson handcuffed him for 7 innings, allowed 1 run. Like, what
I said Cade Anderson was going to win.
I know you did, but the point is, if Cade Anderson gives you 7 and you score 1 run and you go get Case and Evans for the final 6 outs, great. You still got Chase Shores queued up, ready to go. You got Ianson and Shores and everybody else ready to win game 2. And that's the difference, is like LSU can be all in to win it in 2. Coastal has to make this go to 3.
So Coastal, just to let you know, they have an ERA that's actually lower. Also, they've given up 3 runs
Sun
per
Belt
ball.
opponents, Dave. Against
But
Sun
not
Belt
in this
opponents.
but in the College World Series, they've given up 3 runs per game.
That's awesome. And they played Arizona, and they played a Louisville team that was out of pitching and stinks. I don't even know how Louisville made it to the tournament, to be honest. Oregon State's a good team, and that's an impressive win. Like that win where Morrison went 7 2/3 against Oregon State. That's the most impressive. That's more impressive than winning at Auburn. Auburn should not have been a national seed. Like I respect Auburn.
National seed.
They won 17 SEC games. I can't remember an SEC team that won 17 league games and was a national seed. Auburn's pitching was not very good. Sam Dutton, who was a down-the-line starter for LSU a year ago, was Auburn's Friday night guy.
Yeah,
Auburn played in a bitty ballpark with some big boppers, and they hit. And Coastal's pitching limited them. Congrats to them. That's fantastic for them. But Auburn, like beating Oregon State the way they did is dramatically more impressive than winning at Auburn this year. And look, Coastal's good. I get it. They're a good team. LSU's going to win in 2.
We shall see. Hey, Matt.
LSU win in 2.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, man.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir. All right. All the best. Thank you so much.